Hey everyone, this is Zach, and today I'm doing a quick review of the Huawei P Smart, the latest budget-conscious offering from Huawei. Let's get started. The first thing you notice about the phone is the display. Unlike other displays in this price bracket, it's not 720p, it is in fact 1080p. That makes the colours better, it's much sharper, the saturation's good, it's brighter. Reading text on this is really nice compared to other phones that only have 720p displays. It's also a 5.6 inch display in a phone that's actually not that big, and that's because it's using the fancy 18:9 aspect ratio that's become really popular nowadays. Going into the cameras, we have two. We have a primary 13 megapixel camera, which is here, and then a secondary 2 megapixel camera. Now 2 megapixels, you might wonder what it's there for. It doesn't actually take any images on its own. All it does is provide depth information so that you can take portrait modes on it. The front camera is an f2.0 8 megapixel camera, which is actually a lot better than most cameras, selfie cameras you would get on phones, again in this price bracket, so that's nice to see as well. Talking about software, it's Android 8.0 Oreo running the February security patch and Huawei's EMUI 8.0. Now I'm an Android purist, so I was kind of expecting to hate it, and I didn't. I've actually really grown to like it. I could probably use EMUI as a daily driver, and again, as an Android purist, it was kind of hard for me to come to that conclusion. It was hard for me to say it, but it's the honest truth. For example, I'm using a custom launcher here, but even in Huawei's own launcher, the Google feed is there. Their quick settings and notifications are honestly just like stock with a new skin. I actually dig the whole pitch black with dark blue scheme. I like that. Also, if you don't have any notifications whatsoever, one swipe brings down the whole quick settings panel. I think they call it Smart Pull Down. A lot of custom ROMs have had it. It's nice to see on a stock device. I also like having the brightness slider at the bottom rather than top. It's a small thing, but it makes it easier to reach with one hand. Speaking of reaching things with one hand, like other Huawei phones, this has one-handed mode. On tall displays, this is a real benefit, and I wish more phones, especially with large screens, had this. But still, a lot of companies refuse to do one-handed mode properly. It's really nice to see that Huawei are the exception, because it works really well. And the reason it's not going off is because I'm looking at the camera screen, not my hand. There we go. Works both ways, just tapping the black border brings you out. Another nice thing in the software is this little arrow that hides the navigation bar, so you can get the full screen effect, and then just swiping up from there brings it on back. Talking about performance, we have Huawei's in-house made Kirin 659, and it's a decent CPU, really is, especially running Oreo. It's smooth, as you can see. There's no sort of dropped frames really in animations. You can multitask reasonably well. You can double tap the overview button to quickly switch between apps. It's a good all-rounder, especially in the battery life department, which I'll get to in a moment. Nice thing about the recents menu in Huawei phones is having a dedicated multi-window button. That app doesn't support split screen. Having a dedicated multi-window button that just puts that app straight into multi-window, and then you can jump to the other one, and then it's business as usual. There's also an app lock feature, so as you can see here, the padlock for Spotify is locked, but not for the other apps. And now if I close everything, go into overview, Spotify is still there until I unlock it and dismiss it. This is great because very often I will close all apps on my phone and forget that Spotify is in that list, and I will suddenly lose all the music I was listening to. So being able to lock specific apps so that that doesn't happen is a great benefit. As you'd expect with Oreo, all the things like app shortcuts and notification dots are present, even in Huawei's own stock launcher. And diving into settings, everything's nice and simple. You have a search bar at the top, information about your Huawei account here, and then nice concise categories rather than having everything sprawled out against multiple pages, etc. Everything's where you'd hope it would be, where you'd expect to find it, and it's neat and clean. So if you're kind of a new user or new to Android, you're not going to be overwhelmed with a plethora of options. Even though those options are still there, they're just in easy to find categories. Speaking of battery life, this thing's great. So it's a 3000 mAh battery. Now combine that with the CPU this has, Android Oreo, and the fact that this variant has 3 GB of RAM. There is a 4 GB option as well. Everything runs smoothly, but the battery life is amazing. Now, I'm a hard user. I put this thing through its paces. I did not go easy on the P Smart, and I still got about 7 hours of screen time out of it over the course of 18 hours. So I didn't have to charge it before I went to bed. That's really good. Standby wise, it probably lasts about 3 days with minimal use, and if you want, you can put it in ultra battery mode. This turns everything black, gives you only 6 apps on the home screen along with the time, and it disables Bluetooth, Wi-Fi and mobile data. However, those things can be individually switched back on if you so choose. This can give you almost a week's battery life in that mode. And just tapping the little exit button up here will put you back in the regular mode that we all know and love. Talking about those cameras, let's have a look at the camera app. Battery level 2 low, flash not available. I haven't charged this before the review. Might have been a good idea. We should be good. So, a couple of nice things about the camera app. We have portrait mode. We have wide aperture mode. We have beauty filters, etc., which is also nice to see on the rear and the front cameras. We also have lots of modes in here. So we have a pro mode, nice to see. Obviously, pro video, good to see. Light painting, panorama, HDR, and also a good food mode. That just kind of adjusts all the white balance and the saturation so that the phone knows that you're taking a picture of food. I Instagram food more than people would probably like, so that's pretty good. Swiping in from this direction, we have the resolution options, the assistive grid, a timer, audio control, which is pretty cool, and also capture smiles and object tracking. Object tracking is cool, so if you've got something that's moving, you can tap that thing, and then that stays in focus rather than just the center of the image. More phones need that option in particular. Overall performance is really snappy, as I said. Battery life is great. The speaker down here isn't going to win any awards for music, but if you're in a phone call and loudspeaker, it's great. And call audio quality for the other person's good too, thanks to having several microphones. Really impressed there too. So that's a quick rundown. There'll be a full review written on littlegreendude.com, but for now, here's the overall verdict. If you've got £200 or less to spend, you can't go wrong with the Huawei P Smart. It has good cameras, a great display, a great software experience, amazing battery life, and it's as fast as you need it to be. For that price, there's nothing else really worth considering. The P Smart gets a thumbs up from me. If you have any questions about the phone, or kind of want to know anything about it, if there's anything in the review we didn't cover that you'd like to see in the written review, let us know in the comments section or on my Google Plus profile, and I'll do my best to address it. This is Kew-Denniss. Have a good one, guys.